The cameras were ready, the stage was set, but one name, arguably the most anticipated of the night, never appeared under the spotlight. When the iHeartRadio Music Awards 2026 aired, fans across the United States waited for Bruno Mars to take the stage. He didn't, and yet somehow he still became one of the biggest stories of the night. In an industry where visibility often defines relevance, Bruno Mars proved the opposite. Despite not performing, the global superstar remained at the center of conversation thanks to a major win and the unstoppable momentum of his latest music. His absence from the stage sparked questions, speculation, and ultimately, a deeper look into a career that continues to evolve on its own terms. At the heart of the night was a significant achievement. Bruno Mars secured the award for Best Collaboration alongside Rosé, reaffirming his ability to bridge genres and audiences. The win wasn't just a trophy, it was a signal. Even without a live performance, his influence remained undeniable. In a landscape dominated by constant output and viral moments, Bruno Mars demonstrated that legacy and strategy still carry weight. Behind the scenes, the real story was unfolding through his latest release, Risk It All. The track has surged across global charts, dominating streaming platforms and securing top positions on major rankings. Industry analysts describe it as a silent takeover, a song that didn't rely on spectacle but on pure musical craftsmanship. Its success has made one thing clear: Bruno Mars doesn't need an award show stage to command attention. He already owns it in the digital arena. Music critic Daniel Reeves, speaking to a Los Angeles-based outlet, described the phenomenon bluntly: Bruno Mars operates on a different timeline than most artists. While others chase trends, he creates moments that feel timeless. Risk It All isn't just a hit, it's a reminder of what pop music sounds like when it's done right. That sentiment echoes across the industry, where producers and performers alike continue to cite him as a benchmark for quality. The decision not to perform at the iHeartRadio Music Awards wasn't accidental. Sources close to the production suggest that the performer lineup had been finalized weeks in advance, and Bruno Mars was never officially scheduled to appear on stage. But insiders point to something deeper than scheduling conflicts. In today's hypersaturated media environment, absence can be just as powerful as presence. By stepping back, Bruno Mars allowed anticipation to build, redirecting attention toward his music rather than a single televised performance. This approach aligns with the broader narrative of his current era, widely rumored to revolve around the upcoming project The Romantic. Though details remain tightly guarded, industry whispers suggest a return to emotionally driven songwriting combined with the polished production that has defined his career. If true, it would mark another evolution for an artist who has consistently reinvented himself without losing his core identity. To understand why this moment matters, it's important to look at the larger arc of Bruno Mars' career. From his early days as a songwriter crafting hits behind the scenes to becoming one of the most recognizable voices in modern pop, his journey has been anything but conventional. He built his reputation on precision, every note, every performance, every visual carefully curated. That discipline has earned him not just commercial success but cultural permanence. In the United States, his influence runs deep. Bruno Mars has played a pivotal role in reintroducing funk, soul, and R&B elements into mainstream pop. His work has bridged generational gaps, appealing to both younger audiences raised on streaming and older listeners who grew up with analog sound. Songs like Uptown Funk and 24K Magic didn't just top charts, they reshaped them, proving that retro-inspired music could dominate a modern landscape. Producer and longtime collaborator James Fauntleroy once noted in an interview, "Working with Bruno is like stepping into a different era, but with today's technology. He respects the past, but he's never trapped in it." That philosophy is evident in Risk It All, which blends classic songwriting structure with contemporary production techniques, creating a sound that feels both nostalgic and new. Culturally, Bruno Mars has also redefined what it means to be a global pop star. His collaborations span continents, languages, and genres. Partnering with Rosé introduced his music to an even wider international audience, further cementing his status as a cross-cultural icon. In an era where music consumption is increasingly global, this ability to connect across borders is not just valuable, it's essential. Yet, perhaps the most compelling aspect of Bruno Mars' story lies behind the scenes. Known for his meticulous work ethic, he is famously hands-on in the studio, often spending countless hours refining a single track. Musicians who have worked with him describe a perfectionist who demands excellence not just from himself but from everyone involved in the process. It's a trait that can be exhausting, but it's also what sets him apart. "There are no shortcuts with Bruno," said a session guitarist who collaborated on one of his recent projects. "If a song doesn't feel right, we start over. It doesn't matter how long it takes." That relentless pursuit of quality has become a defining characteristic of his brand, and it's one reason his releases feel like events rather than routine drops. The reaction to his absence at the iHeartRadio Music Awards underscores a broader truth about his career. For many artists, not performing at a major event might signal a missed opportunity. For Bruno Mars, it became a statement. Social media buzzed with speculation, fan theories, and anticipation for his next move. In a way, he dominated the conversation without ever stepping on stage. This phenomenon speaks to a shift in how success is measured in the modern music industry. Visibility is no longer confined to physical appearances or televised performances. Streaming numbers, social media engagement, and cultural impact now play equally significant roles. Bruno Mars has mastered this new landscape while maintaining the artistry that defined his earlier work. Looking ahead, the question is not whether Bruno Mars will return to the stage, but when and on what terms. Industry insiders suggest that any upcoming live performance will likely be tied to a larger rollout, possibly a tour or a major televised event where he can fully control the narrative. If history is any indication, it won't be a simple performance, it will be a moment. For now, his influence continues to ripple through the industry. Younger artists study his catalog, producers analyze his arrangements, and fans eagerly await his next release. In a world driven by immediacy, Bruno Mars remains a reminder that patience, precision, and authenticity still matter. As the lights dimmed on the iHeartRadio stage, one thing became clear. Presence isn't always about showing up, it's about being felt. And in that sense, Bruno Mars was everywhere that night. The future of Bruno Mars looks less like a predictable trajectory and more like a carefully composed symphony. Each move, each release, each decision builds towards something larger. Whether through chart-topping hits like Risk It All or the promise of projects like The Romantic, he continues to shape the sound and soul of modern pop music. In an industry that often moves too fast to remember, Bruno Mars ensures that some moments are worth waiting for and impossible to forget. What makes this chapter in Bruno Mars' career particularly compelling is the contrast between visibility and control. In previous eras, artists relied heavily on award shows, televised appearances, and constant media exposure to remain relevant. Today, Bruno Mars appears to be rewriting that playbook. By choosing when and, more importantly, when not to appear, he has created a sense of rarity that elevates every move he makes. Industry observers note that this strategy mirrors that of legacy acts who understood the power of timing. But unlike many of his predecessors, Bruno Mars operates in a digital-first ecosystem where attention spans are shorter and competition is relentless. That he continues to dominate conversations without oversaturating the market speaks to a level of discipline rarely seen in contemporary pop. There's also a deeper narrative unfolding beneath the surface, one that reflects the evolution of Bruno Mars not just as a performer, but as a cultural architect. His music increasingly feels intentional, almost cinematic, as if each release is part of a broader story. Risk It All is not just a standalone hit, it feels like a chapter hinting at themes of vulnerability, risk, and emotional honesty that could define his next era. A senior A&R executive at a major US label, speaking anonymously, offered insight into this shift. Bruno isn't chasing the algorithm, he's building a body of work. That's a very different mindset from most artists today. He's thinking long-term legacy, not just numbers. It's a perspective that aligns with his recent decisions, including his absence from the iHeartRadio Music Awards 2026 stage. Fans, meanwhile, are beginning to pick up on these patterns. Online discussions increasingly frame Bruno Mars as an artist who values substance over spectacle. While some initially expressed disappointment at not seeing him perform live, that sentiment quickly shifted into anticipation. The question is no longer why didn't he perform, but what is he preparing for? Part of that intrigue lies in the secrecy surrounding The Romantic. Unlike many modern album rollouts, which are often teased months in advance through snippets and social media campaigns, Bruno Mars has kept details tightly under wraps. This approach has fueled speculation, with fans dissecting lyrics, visuals, and even interview quotes for clues about the project's direction. Musically, expectations are high. Bruno Mars has built a reputation for delivering albums that not only perform commercially but also resonate critically. His ability to merge technical precision with emotional accessibility has made his work both widely appealing and deeply respected within the industry. If Risk It All is any indication, the next phase of his career could lean even further into storytelling, offering a more intimate look at the artist behind the hits. Culturally, the stakes are just as significant. Bruno Mars occupies a unique position in American pop music, a bridge between eras, genres, and audiences. His influence can be heard in the work of emerging artists who blend retro aesthetics with modern production, a trend that has become increasingly prominent in recent years. By continuing to refine and expand this sound, Bruno Mars is not just participating in the evolution of pop, he's actively shaping it. There is also an element of unpredictability that keeps audiences engaged. In an age where many artists document every step of their creative process online, Bruno Mars remains relatively private. This mystery adds to his allure, making each public appearance or release feel like an event rather than routine content. It's a strategy that may seem risky in today's attention economy, but for Bruno Mars, it has proven effective. As conversations about his absence from the iHeartRadio stage continue, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. Bruno Mars is playing a different game. He is not simply reacting to industry trends, he is setting his own pace, guided by a vision that prioritizes quality, impact, and longevity. And if history has shown anything, it's that when Bruno Mars finally does step back into the spotlight, the world will be watching exactly as he intended.